Germany to pay this homage to who is a footballing luminary. So let me introduce our panelists then. Bjorn Bremer. He is the General Manager, International Football Institute, Germany. Bjorn, thank you so much for taking the time out here. There is Dr. Anselm Kukle. He will join us in a bit. He's the Deputy General Manager of International Football Institute, Germany. He'll be with us in just a bit. But there is Peter Lable. He's a Senior Advisor, Bundesliga. He joins us here. And Julia Farr, Head of Asia Pacific, Borussia Dortmund. It is such a pleasure to have all of you. Let me get straight into it. The legend that we're discussing today, the man we're talking about, let's begin with his enduring legacy. And I've got to start with the man who loves, breathes, eats football. Kaushik.
Thank you, Meha, for your nice talk about me. I am a little bit of madness of football. With all of the gentlemen of the guests, they knew me of my madness. But really today I'm very, it's a question of, when I talk about the Franz Beckenbauer, it's truly a very saddened for our, not only football, we lost a great humanitarian, not only a footballer. He was a humanitarian footballer. I've seen him very close quarter. He was his legacy will be continued as remembered as of course he's really a true Kaiser, not in football. He's a Kaiser of the world. So we lost the Kaiser, but in a way you can talk with a king, long live the king. It should long live the Kaiser for his next world, and all our lovers of Kaiser, they remain. He will be a Kaiser in our heart.
Yeah.
He's a ruler of heart. He's an emperor of heart of every human being of this universe. What I felt apart from the footballing.
Okay, let's ask others on our panel as well. I've got to come to Julia. In your opinion, what is the enduring legacy of Der Kaiser?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely influenced German football in so many ways. We heard it, he was a great personality. I mean, from our standpoint, we have to give him full respect for what he has done for German football as a player, as a coach, as a manager, as an administrator. I think he has given German football so much, and it will live forever. So he definitely left the legacy. And yeah, it's very sad to hear what happened, but he will live on and his legacy forever.
They say in sport, especially in football, you know, records are meant to be broken. You know, trophy cabinets, after a while, the trophies in those cabinets, they gather dust. But what remains is the magic that a legend has left behind on the field. And we're talking about somebody who's created that magic for a number of years. But what stood out for me, and Peter can come in on this one, is the fact that we found in Franz Beckenbauer someone who excelled in every role that he took on. Is that something that stands out for you as well? As a player, an excellent, legendary player, becomes a coach, a manager, again, you know, wins a World Cup there. Then as an administrator, gets World Cup to Germany in 2006. Is that what the legacy is for you?
For sure, these will be all records nobody can break here in Germany, and this will stand forever and hold forever. But I was fortunate enough to meet him several times in person, and I could say what is the most important for me and what will stay forever is that in these meetings we had together, he showed such a humble, passionate personality, so no arrogancy at all, even due to his success, but he was such a humble person and made no differences between ranking or status of people. So when he entered the stadium, he gave first of all a shake hand to the stewards and then to the elevator boys and finally also to the VIPs. But he made no differences between the human beings, and that is something which is staying for me longer and which is for me more important than all the other records he did.
So a nice human being, a humble human being is what you thought was so special, as well as, of course, all the other records. Let's also get Bjorn in this one. Now, there's a memorial that's on at the moment as we speak at the Allianz Arena. And of course, you know, there are big names. There's Bayern Munich's men's and senior men's team, women's team, that's going to be there. You know, there are other dignitaries from Germany who are going to be there, who are already there. So it is also an occasion where we're not only just talking about his legacy, we're also paying tribute to this legend and what he has done for football. Bjorn, for you, I've got to ask you this as well. And I will come to anecdotes because I'm sure you guys have some anecdotes about the legend. But for you right now, as we talk about Franz Beckenbauer as a player, as a manager, as an administrator, as a human being, what is it right now that you're thinking of?
Yes, he was a special person, people said before, and was a special administrator on several points, because he was the head of a fantastic football team of Bayern Munich up to the 77, and he was the captain of this team as well. After that, he was a trainer, and he started to be very, very, very successful for the German team. He won the championship. And after that, the special one, and I can tell you something about that, he was the head of the World Championship 2006 in Germany. And that was a fantastic thing where Germany could give his all heart to the football.
Mm. What set him apart as a player on the field? We'll get to coaching and manager.
You know, he's first of all, if you look at his Franz career, it's absolutely. I always tell about any beyond your charismatic, and look at when you play the elegance. It's when you see Beckenbauer playing, and you create a revolutionizer libero. He created the own fields. He was starting his career in World Cup as an attacking midfielder, then slowly to defense and a libero. He is a playmaker, an elegance. And the elegance he brought him to an extent, and a subtle elegance with a quiet and beautiful. It's just like a flourish moment. It's exactly who is his human being. It's reflected what he is in. He plays like this. It's a very rare occasion to professionally and within the person Beckenbauer is to reflect his elegance on the grounds. And we have mesmerized his elegance. Yeah. And he revolutionized the position. Can you believe a man, he's changed a position called libero? Yeah. We talk about the entire dimension. He changed. He's a true emperor. Yeah. He's really a Kaiser. I always said before too, he's a Kaiser for the hearts. Yeah. He's not in a field. He owns the hearts of millions and millions. Today is a memorial, but he lives in our heart forever, forever. And true Kaiser, a true emperor, emperor means he'll live beyond.
Absolutely. In fact, we're also going to be talking about, why this name stuck with him, Der Kaiser. There are, different theories to it, but we'll try and get Kaushik to tell us about that. But the other thing, Julia, is that, whenever you read about him, and unfortunately, I couldn't watch him play. He retired before I was born, but I did get to see those black and white visuals, and fascinating to watch. But what stood out for me was here was a legend who was ahead of his time in terms of just the way he played. The game was slower at that time, but you see him, he's faster on the field. The one-touch thing, it's happening now, it was happening with him then. Is that also something that stands out about the legend?
100%. I think he kind of reinvented the way in his times to play as a defender or as a midfielder. And I think given his personality and his playing style, we heard it from Kaushik before, he played very elegant. He was very fast on the pitch. And that was very unique as a player on those positions during his times. But he still, I think, could make a big impact and influence in the younger generations, or even in players like Philipp Lahm or Bastian Schweinsteiger, who followed into kind of his footsteps the years after for the club. And I think you could tell there was a big inspiration by him, and that's something that made him really special, I think.
Should I ask Peter one? Peter, you are from 1860 for your early days. Look at the one slap changed the king to emperor, and the change of the blue to red the wall. And can you explain how the blue become a red, a slap away to Kaiser?
Yeah, It's a ridiculous story if you consider that the king slept
The emperor.
slept the future Kaiser. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Franz Beckenbauer was playing in his youth in a different Munich team with name 1909 Munich,
1960.
and at that time, 1860 Munich was the number one club in Munich, where everybody wants to play for. In the mid of 60s, they were champion in 66, and Bayern Munich was even not in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So Beckenbauer's wish was for sure also to play for 1860 Munich, and it was crystal clear that he will change when he's after 1860 Munich. But then there was a youth match between his club 1909 Munich against 1860 Munich. And in this match, a player with the name Gerhard König, so König means king, has slapped Beckenbauer after, I don't know what happened, but he feel offended by Beckenbauer because he have stolen him the ball. And so he gave him a slap. And this slap in the end, Beckenbauer mentioned afterwards, was the reason why he said, I cannot change to this club because I got a slap from the player there. I must go to another club. So in the end, a slap from a king to the future Kaiser changed the football history in Munich, because at that time, 1860 was a better and a bigger club. He decided to go for Bayern Munich. And in the end, everything in my eyes, what was Bayern Munich is today was found on the roots of Franz Beckenbauer, because he was in the end the key for the team at that time and for the next 10 to 20 years, as well then as president in 2000 and for the time going on.
And you just, Peter, just think about always a question about mine, when just 11-year boy, 11, 12 at that age, that time. So look at his thought process, the slap. That means he is so elegant, so tender for his in a sporting life. Like the elegance is within. If you see about the 12-year boys, a slap changes the thought process. And how he felt that he's with his elegance, he brings his elegance and the charismatic stuff from the beginning.
Absolutely. If you look, you have just seen some scenes here from playing him. I think a remarkable touch from him was a side foot pass. I think he was the first one who really played this side foot pass in perfection. And I think nowadays only Mats Hummels from Dortmund also is playing this sometimes, which I could see, but not a lot of players are playing these passes anymore. And for this, you need a perfect technique. And he invented that at that time. He even scored free kicks goal with this side foot pass. So, and this is a very, very elegant move without any. It looks so easy, without power and strength. And so that was what he is playing football. And that was, if you compare it to the football in Germany in the 70s and 80s, which was it was quite physical. It was very strong, very long running with a long stamina. And for him, it looked football very different. That was really a big difference to the rest of the players.
Okay, I'm just being told that we'll slip into a short break right now, but when we come back, this wonderful conversation continues. So a short break and we'll be back.
392 pillars, 44 doors. Prime Minister prays ahead of the big moment. Special rituals in Ayodhya. All eyes on Ram Lala.
पूरी दुनिया उत्सुकता के साथ 22 जनवरी के ऐतिहासिक क्षण का इंतजार कर रही है.
Pran Pratishtha. Rolling coverage. Only on News 9 Live.
Welcome back. We are paying tribute to a German football legend, Franz Beckenbauer. Now, in the realm of football, where legends are born and tales of brilliance are etched into the very fabric of the sport, one name stands out, a name synonymous with elegance, leadership, and unparalleled success. This is, like we've been saying, a tribute to the maestro himself, Franz Beckenbauer.
Franz Beckenbauer. We say farewell to one of German football's most legendary players. Looking back on his career, we honour the Kaiser, one of the Bundesliga's greatest. Franz Beckenbauer was a footballer of the like never seen before. The role of the sweeper back then was one of uncompromising and unforgiving destroyers. But the Kaiser reinvented the position through great technique, agility and vision.
Er war ein besonderer Spieler, weil der hatte so eine Eleganz, der war nicht deutsch, also der war mehr brasilianisch von der ganzen Ballbehandlung her. Das war einfach nur die Klasse, die Qualität, die er dargestellt hat.
In 1965, Beckenbauer and his Bayern side were promoted to the Bundesliga and have never been relegated since. Beckenbauer helped develop the Bayern game. Together with teammates Sepp Maier and Gerd Müller, he secured the club's first 4 Bundesliga titles.
Dank der 70er Jahre, dank Franz Beckenbauer speziell, ist der Club nach oben gekommen. Und ohne diese großartigen Leistungen von Franz und der Mannschaft damals wäre das nicht möglich gewesen.
Bayern's collection of titles grew through the years, and Beckenbauer won a total of 4 DFB Cups. A World Cup winner as well, he also lifted 3 European Cups, the predecessor to today's Champions League, an impressive haul.
Er ist das Gesicht des deutschen Fußballs weltweit.
Der beste deutsche Fußball aller Zeiten, muss man sich mal vorstellen.
Beckenbauer had a picture book career. Over the course of his 103 caps, he lifted the 1972 European Championship, the 1974 World Cup, and was a 2-time recipient of the Ballon d'Or. Yet his character spread beyond. The Bundesliga pays homage to the life's work of Franz Beckenbauer.
Let's also get Bjorn, into this conversation. Bjorn, one of the things, as I was reading and as I remembered, that, the defining moment in his career, of course, was winning the World Cup. But 4 years before that, in 1970, when he played with that dislocated shoulder, how much of that impacted Germany at that time? In the way he came in that player in the match of the century against Italy in the semi-final.
Yes, it shows his character and his idea of playing football. He was a fantastic football player, but he was also fighting for the team. And that's very important for his character, that he never give up and give all for the team. He was the best, but he was a part of the team as well.
As you can see, those are visuals from the club's Allianz Arena, where a memorial service is being held for Franz Beckenbauer. Those are the visuals. Now, Bayern have invited friends and fans and, cultural and political figures from everywhere, in fact, to celebrate the life of this football legend. And we'll keep getting you those live visuals as well. But just continuing that conversation here. So one slap changed it for 1860. It's their loss and Bayern Munich's gain. But what was also then fascinating was that Bayern Munich, a struggling club, changed to what that they eventually became. And he played a central role in it.
Yeah, of course. If you see the Bayern in 1965, they went to Bundesliga, and then they can become after that, they'll never be relegated. And every Bayern story starts with Beckenbauer. And so Bayern and Beckenbauer is synonym. And without Bayern, and that point of time, also the Beckenbauer has a great partner like Müller and Sepp May, the three of them, revolving all the Bayern activity revolving in those times.
Yeah.
And after all the gets, the Bundesliga champion, later on the championship, European Cup champions. Yeah, the Bayern, the advantage of the Beckenbauer, he is not only confined to. He's a total footballer. He changes. He's a game changer. He creates the path for his national team. He creates the path for the club, being a player. When he goes to Cosmos, he also changes. They are also, he's emperor. Everywhere he rules. Yeah. He rules his elegance. He rules with elegance. That's the beauty of it. He's the only defender in the world have a 2-chance Ballon d'Or. Yeah. He gets everything in his life. Look at if you look about the time of the 70s, dislocated. Yeah. His shoulder and his streak continues, never give up.
Yeah.
What Bayern said is absolutely that this is Bayern, and the Bayern, and what today is Bayern, is all the virtue of the great achievement from Beckenbauer.
Absolutely. Let's also then talk about him as a manager, Julia. It couldn't have been easy, at that age to get the role of a manager. Took the team for the first time as manager into the final of the World Cup. His managerial style, a little bit about that. Could you shed some light?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think he impacted really German football in so many ways. He showed how he was as a player, and then he proved himself again as a coach. It's a complete different role, but we have heard so many good things about him now as a personality and who he was and how he was. And I think he could give a lot to the younger generation. They learned a lot from him. He inspired them, that he could motivate them. And I think this all reflected in all the success he then had as a manager as well. So yeah, you can just look into his career and say, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not easy. It's not very often you see that as well, a good player becoming a good coach, a successful coach, because it's so much about then managing players. Suddenly you have to stop thinking about yourself, about what you can do to your game, but how you get the team together. Peter, your thoughts on his managerial style?
I think it's funny if you see that he always said when he was very young that he doesn't want to be a coach later or a manager, and in the end he did it. And it was not that he was applied for these jobs or asked for this job. He also was always pushed into it without any options. And I think the big difference was he had a very natural authority on the pitch. And I think this authority he could transport as well to the profession of manager or coaching. So therefore, it was, I think, if he was saying something, the players were listening and they were believing what he's saying. I think that was a big, I think that's a big advantage if you have these as a coach, these natural standing and authority by your personality, but also by your success. And he could be also very rude sometimes when he was not happy. So there are several moments where he complained and he was very angry after some matches, or in the cabin, or in the dinners and the banquets after some matches, when he was not satisfied. But then I think the people or the players were really aware, oh, there must be something wrong, we must change something. There are several moments like that, yeah.
Okay, we're going to slip into another break, but when we come back, some interesting anecdotes, some incidents that Peter, Julia, Bjorn, Kaushik have heard of from Franz himself or from his colleagues. We'll try to get those out from our panelists. So a short break and we'll be right back.
$392 pillars, 44 doors. Prime Minister prays ahead of the big moment. Special rituals in Ayodhya. All eyes on Ram Lala.
पूरी दुनिया उत्सुकता के साथ 22 जनवरी के ऐतिहासिक क्षण का इंतजार कर रही है.
Pran Pratishtha. Rolling coverage. Only on News 9 Live.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour, but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT. News 9 Plus. Ahead of the curve.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है मनी 9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
Welcome back. We are paying tribute to the legend of Franz Beckenbauer. We're joined by guests from Germany. There's Kaushik Malik, football expert. He's here with us as well. And we were just talking about how Franz Beckenbauer was not just a special player, a legendary player, but a wonderful human being. What also stands out about Der Kaiser is that everything that he took on, and he was a man who donned many hats, everything that he took on just turned to gold. He was successful in that. And continuing that conversation, Der Kaiser, where did that come from and how did it stick?
I think I will ask Peter to answer this because he can give more detail.
Okay. Let's get Peter.
Peter, so the history of Der Kaiser.
There are two versions. The one is that Bild Zeitung, the biggest German newspaper, is claiming to having given him this title. But I think the real version is that he was standing in the beginning of his career. I think it was at the national team matches in Vienna, at the statue of Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria. And he was standing exactly beside this statue. And then a photographer came and made a picture. And then they said, you are the Kaiser, you are the emperor. And at that time, I think the name was established. I think that's probably the right version, why he get this name.
Okay, Dr. Anselm Kukle, Deputy General Manager, International Football Institute, Germany, has also decided to join us. Thank you so much, Mr. Kukle. We've been talking about Franz Beckenbauer, a sort of homage to the legend. Your initial thoughts. We've been talking about his legacy, defining moments in his career. Your first thoughts on the legend himself.
Yeah, he was a big man, not only for the football fans. He was also a great person, and he inspired the whole world, not only Germany. That is very interesting. He had a remarkable career, not only as a player, but also as an administrator. He served in various administrative roles, including his time as executive committees, for example, for the German Federation, also for FC Bayern Munich, and he organized the World Cup 2006 in Germany, and therefore he was a very important man to get this big tournament to Germany. And yeah, he was a great man. His role as a human is also very big. So he inspired very many people. And a funny story, I think, is that he actually is supposed to go to 1860 Munich when he was young. Today it's a smaller club in Germany. In the past it was the bigger club in Germany, and it turned out differently because he got a slap in the face in the clash against 1860 Munich, and then he decided to go to Bayern Munich. So very sad for 1860 Munich, but great for FC Bayern.
Yeah, Peter just told us this story, and also how this was the 1860s loss and Bayern Munich's gain, and it changed Bayern Munich forever, and German football forever. But let's also talk about him as an administrator. Beyond your thoughts on him as an administrator. I know we've already said how successful he'd been as a player, as a coach, but then taking on the role of an administrator, which is completely different from a player and a coach, but then finding success. And in his own words, he said that 2006 World Cup, bringing 2006 World Cup to Germany, that was the closest World Cup to him when it comes to closest to his heart when it comes to all the other World Cups as well.
Yes, of course, it was a big tournament for Germany as well, and it helped developing Germany football as well. So the next years, the German football improved very well, and we played better football then as well. Example, 2010 and 2014, and got back to the top of football in the world. And Beckenbauer's impact on German's football is immeasurable. As a player, he played a key role in the success, but I think he has so many impact on German football that's unbelievable. And even me, I have never seen him playing, but for me, I think he is the greatest German footballer of all time.
Also, is there a truth to this statement where after they won, West Germany won the World Cup, he said, imagine if West Germany can do this, if East came with West, what would we do? Bjorn, is that something he said at some point?
Oh, I cannot say anything about it. Maybe Björn Bremer.
Yeah.
I think that was his idea at that moment. But I want to tell you something about his personality because he was obsessed with detail as well. So he was the first coach that thought about data analytics. Today, we make a lot of these things, but I think Franz Beckenbauer, he was the first person to do this. And so that was part of his success as well. He just was the light figure on one side, but very detailed on the other side as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's then talk about some anecdotes. Do you have any? Let's start with Kaushik and then I'll come to the other panelists.
Yeah, the important thing when I have a privilege to met the biggest German legends of Gerd Müller and Beckenbauer together when I have been to working something close associated with the Bayern, to organizing Oliver's farewell match. It's a history. But when I first see him again.
Of the heart. Peter, I'm sure you have an interesting one, a funny one maybe?
No, I would say that Franz always was staying above the things, and he could handle problems or scandals in a way nobody was angry with him anymore. So he had he was married 3 times, for example, and he has 5 kids. And when he left one woman and got a baby with another kid, normally you would expect that this would occur, a big scandal. But when he was asked at that time about this new baby, the lady, the new wife he met at the Christmas party of Bayern Munich, he was very open and said, come on, God is thankful about each baby. And with this sentence, he faded away all the concerns, and everybody was laughing and was satisfied. So he had a very natural kind of humor and of controlling things and to ease things. And so there are many of these anecdotes about
Tell
him.
us more. Tell us more. It's a perfect show and a perfect moment.
Yeah, one was for example, in the early days when Franz Beckenbauer went to the training, he had a ride share with Gerd Müller. Mm-hmm. And so Gerd Müller came with his car and wanted to pick up Franz Beckenbauer, but Franz Beckenbauer was not very in time. He was easy and not very tensed about timing. And then Gerd Müller was sitting in the living room and was waiting and saying, Franz, we must hurry up. And then Franz said to Gerd, listen, remind, they will never drive in the bus without both of us. They will never drive without us. And so it was.
And Peter,
spoken like a true Kaiser. Yeah.
Peter, I just want to remind you one thing about the Kaiser. When the all-time greatest footballer of the century of the German football, when awarded to the Gerd Müller, and how Kaiser is talk about him. What a greatness of a Kaiser! He is a really emperor. Do you enlighten that?
Yeah, I think Gerd was a much different person to Franz. But Gerd was even more humble than Franz, and was a very simple person who was like playing football, and that was his thing, and was not going outside. He was focusing fully on football, and so I think that Franz was a friend for him, which cared of him and protected him also in the later stage when Gerd was in not in a good shape and so on. They gave him a new job, so Franz was also caring of his people.
This is very important to the next generation to talk about. He's a real emperor.
Yeah.
He's not talk about everything beyond.
Yeah, and which is what then leads me to the next question. For the future generations, what should he be remembered by, Julia?
I don't think you can nail down it to one or two things. I think it's the overall impact he had. We have heard so many good things now, and what he has done about his whole career as a player, as a coach, as an administrator. You could see whatever he touched turned into some sort of success. And I think hearing also about his great personality and his character he had at the same time, I think this is something everyone can look at and everyone can see as some sort of idol, no matter whether they are players right now, they are coaches, or they are working in the industry as a club manager or something. I think everyone can look up to him and find some motivation and inspiration of what he has done and his legacy.
So we've talked about him as a player, we've talked about him as a coach, manager, as well as an administrator. Personal life is something that Peter touched upon, but just a little bit on, when he withdrew from public life, Peter, what was that like? After the controversy, with what happened with FIFA in 2006, how was that? And how much did that impact him?
I think that hurt him a lot. I think he was really retiring already at that time when these questions came up, and you could feel that it hurt his health as well, that he felt really not appreciated and misunderstood and so on. So I must say that at that time it was a very, very tough time for him, and I feel really sorry that he brought the World Cup to Germany, which is always the best you can do. And I think he did his best to achieve this goal and what he did. And I'm really convinced that he was not involved in all these topics and was not aware of this, because he was not going into these details of that. He was a person who was convincing with his character and doing the big things, but that was important for him. And he was really disappointed at that time with the German society, or I would say not the society, more with the German PR, which hit him very much. And at that time, I think he started to retire and to be very reluctant with interviews and other things. So it was a big pity, because as a personality, he was such a big value, and as for sure as administrator of German football as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm being told to wrap up in a few minutes. So one last abiding memory before we wrap this show up. Let's also get Dr. Kukle and Bjorn, and then I'll come to Kaushik. Dr. Kukle, why don't you start, and then I'll come to Bjorn. Can you hear me?
Anson, do you hear us?
I think he can. Oh, you start, Bjorn. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll take that point. Yes. I think the last point was he broke down when his son died. So that was that beside this themes of the World Championship 2006, that was the dark point in his life. So, but if we look globally, he was the best player. He was the best coach. He was the best president. So he will be the light figure for all time. So that's my opinion about that. He's died, but he will never die.
Yeah.
And there can never be another Franz Beckenbauer. Kaushik, your?
I only can say he is a Kaiser, and Kaiser is always immortal. He's a Kaiser of the heart. So as long heart beats, Kaiser will live with us. Generation after generation, he's a Kaiser.
Yeah.
So Kaiser cannot die. Yeah. It just changes role. He come up with our mind every time. Okay. He's at the heart. He's with us forever.
Okay. Julia?
Yeah, I can just follow from what I said before. I think, like I said also in my opening statement, he has left a legacy forever, and I don't think German football will ever forget about him. The world will never forget about him, and he will some sort of live on in all the inspiration that he has given in so many ways. And I believe we will always look back at what he has contributed to German football and world football in general.
Well said. I'm being told to say goodbye, but Peter
Anson.
and Anson. Okay, Peter, quickly, and then.
Yeah, he's the fundament of German football and will stay forever.
Okay. Ansem?
Such a great person. He had so much influence on Germany, on the people here, on football here. So we will not forget him. Kaiser will not forget him.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaiser will live in our hearts forever. And what he's done is not just for German football, of course, but for world football and for the coming generations, you know, the impact that he's left for them. Like we've been saying, he was ahead of his time and not just a legendary player and a coach and an administrator, but a wonderful human being. We leave you with this now. Thank you so much, Kaushik, Peter, Julia,
Ansem, Ryan.
Yeah,
it's really a day to remember. It's to celebrate for his memories.
Absolutely. All right, we're wrapping this up. News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. Hope you enjoyed this special. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
The circumstances that prevailing today in the subcontinent are very volatile, they're very explosive, they're very dangerous.
Pakistanis, they sent Pakistani armies led by Punjabi generals, whether it was General Tikka Khan or General A.K.A. Khan Niazi, to oppress Bengalis in Bengal.
I don't think we can shut our eyes to the situation in a neighboring state.
Situation काफी improve हुई है.
There was this whole